Happy New Year! For the third time now on this channel, I would like to do a brief retrospective on the last year, mostly as it relates to gaming, and then offer my resolution for 2025. And like last year, I thought I would respond directly to my past self again. So let's see what my past self's New Year's resolution was. Here's my New Year's resolution, starting with the games that I want to run in 2024. First, there are some old favorites like DCC, Warlock or Warpstar, and EasyD6. Upon reflection, I've realized that I've been trying out a lot of new games, such as Cortex Prime or Vaesen, but I've neglected previous favorites like DCC, Warlock or EasyD6. This will always be a challenge for me, as I do love learning and running new systems. But I need to find a way to bring some of my favorites to the table as well. So that's one of my goals. I might not have a chance to play all of these in 2024, but it would be nice to revisit at least one or two of these games in the next year. Well, unfortunately, I did not have a chance to revisit any of those old favorites. That statement still very much resonates with me. I'll talk more about that in my new resolution. Next up, let's talk about Vaesen or other Year Zero games. I want to run at least a few more sessions of Vaesen, as mentioned earlier. And now that I've got some experience with the Year Zero system, I'd be interested in running some other Year Zero games. Maybe Alien. In fact, I just received the order that I placed on Black Friday, and it looks like a really solid game. Or maybe even Forbidden Lands. This is the first Free League game that I ever bought. In fact, I participated in the original Kickstarter, but I still haven't read it. I really like exploration-oriented games, and this could be a lot of fun. Well, I did conclude our Vaesen campaign after playing through 4 scenarios over the course of 11 sessions. It turns out that Vaesen is very much not for me. I won't go into details here because I already published an in-depth debrief earlier this year. In fact, this was by far my most popular video yet. As for other Year Zero games, overall I'm a bit lukewarm on these now, at least as a GM. I've played some fun sessions of The Walking Dead, Alien, and The Electric State though. I liked the stress mechanic in Walking Dead and Alien a lot more than the conditions in Vaesen. For now, I'm happy to play the occasional Year Zero game, but I'm not particularly itching to run them. I am somewhat intrigued by the new edition of Coriolis though. I like the fact that it seems very exploration-oriented, so we'll see. Next up we have Outgunned. Outgunned is a cinematic action RPG that emulates, say, late 80s to early 2000s action movies like Die Hard, John Wick, Hot Fuzz, and games like that, and I'm really excited to run it. My previous video actually provides an overview of the game, so you may want to check this out to find out more about it. Outgunned is published by the Italian game company Two Little Mice, and based on the same core system they used in Broken Compass, which I ran in the previous year. So I'm really looking forward to getting this to the table, first at the EsserCon, and after that at Genghis Khan actually, and then maybe at some other opportunities. We'll see. Alright, I consider this one a success as well. I ran 5 sessions of Outgunned in 2024, mostly at conventions, 3 times in person and twice online. This quickly became my favorite RPG, and I plan to run it a bunch more, so we'll talk more about it in my New Year's resolution. I even implemented a Discord dice bot to facilitate playing online using Google Sheets and Discord Theater of the Mind style. For more about why I love Outgunned so much, as well as an overview of my Discord dice bot and the Google Sheets-based character sheet that I previously shared, see my last video. All the links will be in the video description as well. Mothership is another game I'd be interested in running at some point. This is a sci-fi horror game that many of us have been eagerly awaiting. The PDF version came out early this year, or maybe even earlier than that, but the print version has been significantly delayed. But it should arrive in the first half of 24, and I'm interested in giving this a shot. It will, however, compete a bit with Alien, as both are sci-fi horror games. So it depends on where my mind is at when I receive Mothership, and if I'm in the mood for something simple and lightweight, like Mothership, or something more meaty, like Alien. Let's see. So Mothership, I didn't get it to the table yet, but I really like the books, now that the Kickstarter delivered last year, and I've played in several fun sessions, both run by Nubis actually, so shout out to you, a really awesome Mothership GM. I still would love to run Mothership at some point, and I would definitely pick it over Alien personally. I really think it strikes a nice balance, and it's oozing with vibe, and there's tons of really cool adventures for it as well. Aside from that, a number of other Kickstarters should deliver this year. I never know which of these end up capturing my attention when they arrive. Candidates might be Dolmenwood, Shadowdark. In fact, I just got my physical books yesterday. Shadow of the Weird Wizard. This is Rob Schwalt's slightly softened and more generic take on Shadow of the Demon Lord, which I really enjoyed when I ran it a couple of years ago. But it is a pretty tactical game, so I'll have to see if I'm in the mood for something like that. Or maybe Knave. There are also games that I bought or kickstarted and received this year or earlier that I have been interested in running for a while. For example, there's Outcast Silver Raiders or Dragonbane. Some of those could be candidates. But overall, I'd like to aim for quality over quantity, as much as I realize that'll be difficult. And I really do want to strike a balance between trying a few new things, but also getting some old favorites back to the game. And I want to run a lot more, since that's what I tend to enjoy most about RPGs, although I do like to play as well. Well, I didn't run any of those except for Outgunned, but there are definitely some interesting options. For example, Shadowdark is probably what I'd reach for if I wanted to run something close to D&D, so it remains on my shortlist of fantasy RPGs. Shadow of the Weird Wizard didn't grab me when I received the books, even though I loved Shadow of the Demon Lord. I won't rule out running this eventually, and I would be interested in playing at least a couple of sessions, but for now it sits firmly on the back burner. Same with Dragonbane. In terms of conventions, similar to the previous year, I want to attend a couple of them. Genghis Khan is coming up in February, and I actually signed up to run Outgunned there, as well as play a bunch of games that I haven't played yet, such as Alien and The Walking Dead. If at all possible, I'd love to also make it to Gamehole Con in October, since I missed the last one, so fingers crossed. Of course, the next BSRCon online is coming up in January, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Well, all of those conventions did happen, and they were awesome. BSRCon in January was amazing as always. If you haven't heard me talk about it, it's an online convention organized by Sean Kelly for the BSlandia community that grew out of the now retired Gaming and BS podcast. It's a great community, and the annual BSRCon in January has been a great opportunity to virtually hang out with community members across the globe and play some really fun new games. Last year, I ran Outgunned. In fact, this was the very first time I ever ran Outgunned. And I played Mothership, a really fun scenario where we got to play the monsters. I played Public Access. That's a very interesting game using the same engine as Brindlewood Bay. The GM and the group were great. The game itself probably isn't really for me, though. It's the kind of game where you often need to make up and narrate certain things on the spot, such as events from your character's past and how they felt about them, things like that. And that's just not something I tend to enjoy. It's a really cool game, though. I also played Old Gods of Appalachia. That was a very cool setting and scenario, lots of fun. And finally, The Walking Dead, another really great game. Then I attended Genghis Khan in Denver in February and had a great time as well. This is where I ran Outgunned for the first time in person, and I thought that session went very well also. And I played Pirate Borg, which is always fun. I played Dragonbane. I played The Walking Dead again. And last not least, I played Cocaine Shark by Karl Kiesler, which is a super fun and gonzo scenario for the Savage Worlds-based trailer park shark attack game. There were really cool environments, like little trailers and cars and shark people, awesome miniatures and things like that. Very fun. Then in August, I attended Tacticon, the smaller sister convention of Genghis Khan, if you will, also in Denver. I only had a chance to attend for one day, though. And I played Dragonbane again. This was a very fun dungeon crawl. And I also played a Delta Green game. But the highlight when it comes to conventions was certainly Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin in October. This, in fact, was really the highlight of the year for me. See my dedicated recap video that I published a couple of months ago. Here, I also ran Outgunned. In fact, I ran one official game and one off-books game for some friends. I played a mix of official games and off-book games. I had a chance to play DCC. This was a super fun session by Brandon LaSalle. I played Ghosts of Iron Saddle, a Cypher System game. I played Alien again. I played Sidewinder Recoiled, a Savage Worlds Wild West setting. This was another super fantastic game by Karl Kiesler. Probably one of my best ever con experiences, to be honest. I played The Electric State. I played Pirate Borg. This one was an OSE adventure, actually, The Secret of the Black Crag. And then off books, I played Into the Odd and Swords and Wizardry, both really fun games run by Harrigan and Gabe, respectively. But mostly it's really about the friends and the dinners and just having fun and playing some games together. So really, really awesome experience. And I almost certainly want to try to go back again this year. We talked about exercise earlier, and there's nothing much new to talk about here. Nothing's really changed. I'll do my best to keep it up. Yep, same as last year, not much to talk about here. I continue to regularly exercise or do yoga, hiking, and things like that, and I'll definitely want to keep that up again. And last not least, there's this YouTube channel. I definitely want to keep it up. I'll make no commitments about frequency of videos, but I do enjoy this creative outlet and want to continue exploring different topics. Feel free to keep the suggestions coming as well. Well, good thing I didn't make any specific commitments here, because I only published 6 or 7 videos this year, depending on whether I get this one out before or after the new year. So I guess that's on average 1 every 2 months or so. Still, it's nice to have this outlet, and it's been particularly fun to engage with viewers in the comments. So aside from the games that I mentioned in my New Year's resolution, what else did I run or play in 24? I actually didn't run anything else. Similar to 23, 24 ended up being fairly light for me when it comes to running games. I just ran the second half of the Vaesen campaign and a handful of Outgunned one-shots. I did play a bunch of other games, though. First off, we picked up the Fallout 2D20 campaign that we had started back in 22 and that we paused while I ran Vaesen. So the campaign has been going on and off now for a while, and it continues to be fun. Like, Lance lives and breathes Fallout, and that really comes across. And these are good friends. You know, we get together every 2 weeks and have been for 10 years now, actually. So always fun to hang out and play some Fallout. And then with a separate group, we also played a few sessions of Against the Dark Master with Gabe as the GM. This is a small but also really good group, just 4 of us. Gabe is a great GM, and I really liked the world building we did at the beginning to establish the setting. However, we came to the conclusion that Against the Dark Master isn't the right game for this group. So we switched gears and recently kicked off a Dune campaign. It's still pretty early in the campaign, but again, we established a cool setting. I'm actually not a big fan of the Dune IP, and I couldn't stand the recent movies. They were just way too slow and boring for me. I never read the book, and overall, there's too much focus on faction politics and stuff like that, which I typically don't care for. But in spite of this, I look forward to getting a good taste of the game. I played in a few other online games as well. So there was a fun Mothership one-shot recently, and then also played one session of Sean's West Marches campaign using Shadow Dark. That was really fun as well. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to jump into any more sessions. I think that was all the games that I played, other than the convention games. It is entirely possible that I'm forgetting something though. All right, so let's talk about 2025. Here's my New Year's resolution. First up, Outgunned. This, again, has become my favorite RPG, and I want to continue running it. Outgunned Adventure released in PDF a few months ago. The physical book is expected sometime before May, and it adds some really nice new elements to Outgunned. I gave an overview in my last video, so I'll put a link in the description. So I'll probably run at least some spin on that. There are also a lot of really fun action flicks, which are basically micro settings. And the first one that I'm going to run here is the Dino Storm action flick, which basically emulates Jurassic Park or similar settings. I will run a game at BSRCon that I'm calling Escape from Dino Island, and I will run that same scenario again in person at Genghis Khan in February. So essentially the same thing I did last year with my Outgunned game. And I would love to explore some of the other action flicks, or maybe even run a longer Outgunned campaign, because I've really only experienced it as a one-shot right now. It has some really cool tools for running short cinematic campaigns in particular. They aim for like 5 to 8 sessions. So I'll have to see if I can get one of those to the table. I think that would be super fun. And then we have Mothership, which we already briefly talked about in the retrospective. From all the games that I got over the last year or so, Mothership remains the game I'm most interested in getting to the table. I'm not rushing into it though, so we'll see. And similar to what I said last year, and which didn't happen, I would love to revisit an old favorite. DCC, Warlock, or EZD6 come to mind, for example, all favorites of mine. But I've also felt an occasional itch to revisit Savage Worlds, mostly because of some really fun con games that I've played last year. The game is a bit crunchier than the games I tend to play these days, with the various modifiers, combat options, edges, and such. And it gravitates more towards tactical play with maps and minis, while I tend to prefer theater of the mind. But the core of the game is really neat, and there are some cool settings, plus it's a great option for building your own setting. So in case I end up feeling an urge to run a more crunchy game next year, this could be a fun option. Perhaps using Sidewinder Recoiled, the awesome Wild West rule set that's coming out any moment now, and that I had a chance to play at GameholeCon. It's just a very soft maybe, though. More like an option to keep in my back pocket, as I really don't want to stretch myself too thin this year. Aside from these games, there are a lot of other games I'm interested in that I either bought this year or received from a Kickstarter delivery, or that I expect to receive in 2025. Examples might be Shadow Dark, Star Trek II, or upcoming games like The Smurfs or Discworld. I'll play it by ear and see what strikes my fancy. Then we have conventions. I'm hoping to pretty much replicate last year. I'll attend BSRCon next month. Very much looking forward to that. Also Genghis Khan, where I will be running Outgunned in person again, and already planning to play some other cool games. And then, if at all possible, I would love to attend GameholeCon again in October. I'm planning to keep up exercise, whether it's hiking, yoga, some light bodyweight exercises, maybe some snowshoeing or something. So just keep it up, enough said. And then one final thing, in my spare time, I've actually been working on a video game. While this is not an RPG, I am planning to incorporate some RPG elements, specifically elements of old school hex crawls. So stay tuned, I'll share a bit more in the future once I'm further along with the game. And I hope to get to at least a playable prototype in 2025. Well, that's it for now. What games did you enjoy running or playing last year? And what are you looking forward to playing next year? Let me know in the comments. As always, likes and subscribes are appreciated as well. I wish you a happy, gaming-filled new year. See you next time!